We've actually had a AMA live chat. Actually, it's been about a year and a half. So, litigation issues. But we're back, and I'm here to discuss um, the patent grant that I was able to announce, I think, about a month ago. Um, it was granted in one of the major economies. It was granted in October, but I had to keep it quiet for November, December, January, for 3 months. And I've been working on that patent since 2014. Okay, so since April 2014. So we're talking almost 7 years, just under 7 years. So we have it. Basically, it's a patent on DeFi. Most people don't realize it, but I personally claim credit for inventing DeFi, and the reason is because I feel I've invented DeFi. So I'm working from home now, and I have a bulldog puppy harassing me, my daughter's puppy. I have a cat in back of me. There's going to be a lot of animal interference. So, first of all, let's go through the patent and what it does. Well, first of all, you know, for those who don't know, we had some litigation issues with the U.S. regulator. It didn't go very well for us, so they drained all the capital and other things. But the intellectual capital is there. With the patent grant, we are in a very, very strong position. This literally is a patent for decentralized finance. Not all aspects of it, but the aspect that I invented, which is basically peer-to-peer value transfer. Very, very powerful. And not only is it peer-to-peer value transfer, but it is on a conditional basis, and there's a lot of flexibility to it. Think of it as a digital blockchain swap, okay, like the Wall Street style swaps, but a swap as conceived in its purest form. So a swap can be anything. Um, let's see, Sergeant Crypto says, welcome back, thank you. So Sergeant Crypto goes downtown Manhattan to Starbucks, okay? Goes downtown Manhattan to Starbucks and decides to buy a cup of Starbucks coffee. And he pays $5 for it. Starbucks is a little expensive. A lot of people think of that as just a purchase of Starbucks coffee. We envision it, we embody it as a swap. $5 being swapped for 1 cup of Starbucks coffee. When you think of it in that terms, we have a very, 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 very powerful concept that we can claim as our IP. And it gets much, much more elegant than that. This concept came to mind about June 2013. Okay. I caught the Bitcoin bug. Okay. And researched Bitcoin, and I was shocked. Most people were focusing on money remittances or the price of Bitcoin going up and down, exchanges, etc. But the first thing that caught my eye was a discussion of smart contracts and Bitcoin script and programmability. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Okay, so I did due diligence throughout most of 2013. I hired some developers in November of 2013, October 2013, and then from 2000, and then we had a working swap. We closed our first swap, or we executed our first swap on the Bitcoin blockchain in December of 2013, or 2014, and I hit the trail. Did demonstrations at Bitcoin conferences. I did demonstrations on CNBC, explaining the whole thing, RT, Max Kaiser, etc. And we filed several applications. We filed the applications in April, and then combined them. We filed in May with a priority date of May 2014. For DeFi, that's very, very, very early. Okay. Fast forward, we created a very elegant application on the Bitcoin blockchain, which allows you to swap exposures for two arbitrary values. So on the Bitcoin blockchain, you have a wallet. You have the Veritasium wallet. You load it with Bitcoin. You put a data feed in. One person wants to swap BTC/USD. for Microsoft stock. Okay, so now basically you're trading or you're swapping exposures of US dollars and Microsoft stock. It's basically buying Microsoft stock using Bitcoin and Bitcoin price in US dollars. That was interesting. Had a problem raising the appropriate amount of funds. Then you had some potential regulatory issues, not actual, but potential, because at that time, CFTC, I thought the CFTC would end up regulating Bitcoin, or at least claiming jurisdiction over Bitcoin. I was correct, but I decided to pull the app because I didn't want regulatory issues. Now, fast forward, we ended up having regulatory issues anyway. We did the ICO in 2017. We performed as we did. We had our applications come in months ahead of schedule. We had multiple applications. We did the Veda, we did tokenized precious metals, we did the investment pools. We even did tokenized tax credits, but that was as an MVP. And then we were forced to shut down, and now we're coming back hopefully like a phoenix rising out of the ashes. It's come to my attention that the United States is not a very safe place for us to do business, so for me to do business. The tokenized metals will run in the States, but all the other projects will be offshore in other countries in totality. When things are clearer and safer, in my opinion, in the States, I will offer products in the States. Now, a lot of people are asking about Very tokens. I don't want to discuss, or I can't really discuss safely the settlement, but the settlement is public. We take a look at it. If you look at the settlement, I also suggest you look at the actual complaint and then look at our answer to the complaint. So you get both sides of the story, okay, instead of one side. But the settlement, to my knowledge, doesn't say that we cannot interact with the Veritasium token, but there's a pall of uncertainty and a pall of a lack of clarity surrounding tokens, ICOs, etc. Now it's all through the news. I'm sure everybody can see it, and I can't afford another round with regulators. So the regulators have taken all of the Veri tokens from us. They've separated us from the Veri tokens. They have locked them up. They have not commented on the Veri tokens that are in circulation. Anybody who wants to discuss that or find out more about it, I suggest you interact directly with the Veritasium community. You can find it on the Telegram chat. That's Veritasium Official. There are two Veritasium groups, okay? There's a smaller one, I think it's 200 or 400 members, and then there's a larger one with about 2,500, 2,600 members. The larger one, the 2,500 or so members, is a Veritasium chat that I endorse, okay? It's a rich, vibrant community. They're knowledgeable. There are moderators there to make sure everybody behaves. It's not to discuss speculation, but it's to discuss the utility of Veritasium and its products, etc. On that note, the utility is significant. The patent that we have in the jurisdiction that we have, from my layman's opinion now, this is a layman's opinion, this is not legal advice, okay, has access to enforcement in roughly 38 countries, okay? That's how I see it. That is significant. We're talking roughly half the G20, okay? And it controls basically the swapping or exchange of value, okay, through a blockchain or a decentralized currency system. That is significant. So a lot of inventions focus on things such as tokens or F blockchain or Cardano or cross-chain, etc. I'm more of a finance guy, so I focus on the actual value exchange itself and not so much the cryptographic technology directly below it. So of course it interfaces with the technology directly, okay, but there's so much more to it. So this is truly a device, a method, and a system of value exchange. With that being said, I can give you examples of how I envision using the application, the invention. Instead of doing things through, say, the F blockchain or looking for XYZ stablecoin, we provide cross-currency swaps between the European Central Bank and the Bank of Japan or the Bank of England or the Federal Reserve. Okay, when you deal at that level, you're talking trillions of dollars per year per large central bank, and that's just one very, very thin level. You go down to the money center banks, again, same thing, right? Less money, but very, very powerful transactions. Then there's smaller financial institutions, there's everyday users, there's the Fortune 500, and that this goes way past finance. So the Fortune 500, etc. Now, this is how I envision it. This is how I see the embodiments. We just got it granted. We haven't done anything with it yet. Nothing is guaranteed. This is Reggie's vision, foresight, and imagination I'm discussing right now, not anything that's etched in stone or actual fact. If we didn't have the litigation issues that we went through, and if the very tokens weren't taken from us, the very tokens would have been used to license its IP. And its IP, again, I believe, but I'm biased, is very, very powerful. Okay, while we're here, I see there are 167 people looking, streaming now. Everybody, please hit share and spread this to your social media or discussion group of choice to get other people in. Hit subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Okay, and hit alert and hit the thumbs up button. That's if you love me, if you love us. Okay, so now speaking of the token, okay, I said if the token didn't run into the regulatory litigation issues, and if it was to take it from us, the token's original purpose was a prepaid fee for our products and services. So XYZ, institution wants to do a swap through the blockchain. We would say, well, you get a discount using Very token. That's if. That's no longer the case now. We don't interact with the Very token. The community is very interested in doing something with it, but unfortunately, I have to remain hands off. The Veritasium as an entity has to remain hands off. Again, we don't want any issues with any regulators, legal issues, or anything such as that. But the Veritasium community is very active, and I think they're looking for answers themselves. That is a separate topic, a separate discussion, and definitely separate entities from us. So I'm just letting you, everybody know. I'm letting anybody and everybody know, whoever wants to engage in community and see what they're doing, go to community and ask. Okay, but I repeat once again to everybody, okay, that is separate from Reggie Middleton and it's separate from Veritasium. Okay, so, and on that note, that means do not speculate on anything that I say. Do not speculate on anything that you hear from me. A, you get us in trouble, and B, that wouldn't be appropriate because I didn't say anything that's very clear on where we stand with the Veritasium tokens. Now, I guess I could take some questions. Ask some questions, everybody. Is there any way to ride value in Veritasium anymore? I'm sure there is, but I'm done with the US. After what I went through, I feel that the US is chasing talent offshore. I am all for ridding the industry of bad actors and bad guys. I guess you could guess whether I feel I'm one of those guys or not. But the business environment, at least for a young startup that is not connected into the old boys network or even the new boys network, this is not a good place to do business relative to Asia and Europe. You can take a look at even some of the larger, more connected entities, and they're having similar issues. With that being said, we do plan to reach into the U.S., or at least have entities who are in the U.S. who are reaching into our purview. We do plan to do business with them. I like to create many, many partnerships because, again, I think we have a very powerful idea. Now that the idea has been granted natural patent, we're going to build on top of this idea. Basically, the potential for peer-to-peer transactions of value, eliminating the rent-seeking middleman, is extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. If you listen to our older videos, I explained there are three different types of value transaction. You have centralized value transaction, where you have a centralized gatekeeper, say it's an exchange, okay, or a broker or a bank, and then you have all the customers and clients around it, and they all go through that centralized gatekeeper who charges a fee and controls all of the information and the value, and then they connect you to somebody else of their choice, right? Then you have a decentralized network where you have several mini gatekeepers with less uh, gatekeeping ability, okay, and that drops. It increases cost, but it also increases autonomy and security because you have to attack several different vectors at one time. Then you have a fully distributed network where you have dots everywhere, and each dot can do business directly with another dot of their seeking and of their choice. That is where our invention lies. Now, when I said I created DeFi, I didn't call it decentralized finance. I called it distributed finance because it's actually the step past decentralized. But DeFi is a term that stuck, and if you go through a lot of videos, you can go through my Twitter feed or ask me a question on Twitter, or better yet, ask the members of the Veritasium Telegram group to show them many, many videos of demonstrations I gave 2014, 2015, 2016, etc. The patent has a priority date of early 2014. So it's rich history. In the upcoming months, you're going to see permutations of the embodiments that are capable from the invention, and they're going to be significant. They're going to be insignificant. We hopefully will usher in decentralized or distributed finance to the masses. Okay, and it's going to be on a global basis. Again, there's a lot of risk for the small-time entrepreneur in the U.S., at least this particular one. I can't speak for everybody, but there's a lot of interest throughout Europe and Asia, an awful lot. Okay, why do you think the U.S. This is from G. Graham. Why do you think the USA is so far behind adopting cryptos compared to the rest of the world? I'll give you my opinion. It's because the USA is the predominant economic power. They are the holders of the global reserve currency, and they're the predominant military power, and they're the predominant geopolitical power. When you're sitting on a stool, there's no reason to climb up on top of a stool, and there's no reason to search for a better stool because you're on top of the stool. That is what happens when you're in the lead. That is usually what happens to each and every holder of the global reserve currency in the history of monetary systems that I know of. That, I hate to say it, hubris leads to apathy, leads to them being replaced eventually. I'm sure the US is experimenting, but it's very difficult to experiment at a government level because you have to include the private sector. Okay. Monumental paradigm shifting inventions have never come from the government. Monumental paradigm shifting inventions have never come from big corporate, ever. Okay? Monumental paradigm shifting inventions have always come from small entrepreneurs, individuals, and businesses. Just take a look at the Fortune 500, the Forbes list right now. Bill Gates, okay, started Microsoft in a dorm room at Harvard and dropped out. Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook, or allegedly he and someone else started Facebook in a dorm room, dropped out of school. Jeff Bezos started Amazon in his garage. Apple was started in the garage. Hewlett Packard started in the garage, etc., etc. Okay, if you rely on big companies and government entities to innovate, then that innovation won't happen, or if it does happen, it's going to be at a much slower and a much more inferior pace than the competition. The competition now is global. We have one global pool of capital, competition, and innovation. That's how I see it, and I would presume that I am not the only crypto entrepreneur that feels that things are dangerous in the U.S. in terms of operation. Okay, so that's a long-winded answer to the question. I think the playing field is being ready to be stepped on by the big corporate banks, the big Wall Street banks. I mean, good for them. But again, when was the last really significant paradigm shifting invention that you can think of that came out of any of the big banks. I'll give you 5 seconds to think about that. As a matter of fact, I'll give you 5 days because you're going to have a problem. Okay? You get back to me on Twitter. Do you believe there's a platform that will overtake Bitcoin? If so, which one? This is that all depends on overtake Bitcoin in what way. In my opinion, Bitcoin has morphed from what it was supposed to be. When I first started getting into digital assets, Bitcoin was a phenomenal invention. I mean, it was pure genius. The issue is that it has moved from its original premise of being peer-to-peer money that can be transferred electronically through the internet. And now it is a speculative investment, almost solely. People get Bitcoin and they hold on to it. That is not what it was intended to be. That's not where the most value is for Bitcoin. But it's doing quite well as a speculative investment. I see Theo saying as a store of value. As a store of value, Bitcoin is actually too volatile, okay, for my taste, and to be a good store of value. What it is an outstanding investment, particularly on a nominal perspective, okay, and also on a risk-adjusted perspective. So for those entities who say that Bitcoin is too volatile to be an investment, well then, brush up on your math, put it in a spreadsheet and run a risk-adjusted return. On a risk-adjusted basis, Bitcoin blows out all the major asset classes, okay? Ethereum does even more. But as internet money, the focus has changed. The investors came in. The investors do what investors do. They're looking for maximum capital gains. Not even maximum ROI, but maximum capital gains. And they are missing the forest because there's a tree in the way. Ethereum has more functionality. I think Ethereum has a brighter prospect for value over the medium term. And to be truthful, Ethereum has a better capital gain in all in return than Bitcoin as well. Bitcoin simply has a mind share. And I have nothing against Bitcoin, but it has its uses in its place, and its use has changed and morphed since the inception. And basically, the initial premise of Bitcoin is where we're focusing, but not so much internet money, but we're talking peer-to-peer value. So if Satoshi Nakamoto was to have patented Bitcoin, he would have patented Bitcoin, blockchain, and peer-to-peer remittances. What we have patented was peer-to-peer transfer of value. Okay, so I think that's very, very important. Now, a lot of people don't discuss their patents, but unfortunately, I was accused and alleged of being fraudulent in marketing a patent that I knew I wasn't going to get. So I am discussing the patent, and yes, I did get it. Okay. Next, we have discussions on XRP. XRP is a more complex topic than Bitcoin for a variety of reasons, primarily legal. So I'm going to avoid that for right now. Again, don't speculate in very tokens because of what you hear from me, or what you hear me say, or what you see us doing. As of now, right, Veritasium has been separated from Very tokens. Okay, we'll see what the community does, but the community will be whatever they do, they will be doing on their own as a community. We are very supportive of the community. We'll do whatever we can to help the community within our practical means, but getting in trouble with a regulator or authority of the law is not within that practical means. Okay, so there are many ideas that could be tossed around, but I can't discuss them publicly. What I can say publicly is do not speculate on Very tokens because of what I say or what I do or what the company is doing. Okay, other questions? Do I have any plans to raise funds in the near future? We do need capital. But again, the U.S. is persona non grata is just off limits for us for right now. That may or may not be the case. Maybe I should review with legal counsel, but I had a very bad taste over the last year and a half. Again, I feel that the U.S. is shooting itself in the foot. We have a new administration. We'll see if things trickle down in the new administration. But I am not in a position to stake my livelihood in the company on that for right now. But we shall see. Can these F competitors be seen as de facto Ethereum side chains as they are allowing retail investors to trade USD20 while sidestepping the high gas fees? Well, it's potentially yes. The high gas fees come from the fact that Ethereum is a 1.0 programmable, Turing programmable program platform. Um, I would have said it was Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is probably 1.0. Ethereum is maybe 1.5, because it is full Turing. The scripting is much more capable. But since it was the first, it's going to have the first set of problems and it's going to have the most problems because it's been in existence the longest, it's used the most. We'll see if the guys over at Ethereum are able to solve the gas price issue with their upgrades and their proof of stake. We shall see. I'm sure the vast majority of them are much smarter than I am once it comes to software engineering and design. Where we shine is in the application of these protocols to actual distributed applications. Another example would be tokenization. We have a very, very elegant tokenization platform on the beta. If you go to dapp.veritasium.com, you'd see it in action. It's tokenized precious metals, but it can tokenize everything. Before that, we had the BTC swap system. Most tokenization is based upon pretty much the color coin system, which on Bitcoin, a color coin premise, where you put some metadata on Bitcoin and that allows the Bitcoin to take on characteristics of whatever you name. Okay, Ethereum works very differently, but essentially, from a layman's perspective, it's the same thing. But there's a much more elegant way of doing it, and our patent, our invention allows you to do it. Basically, you can create a blockchain representation of any set of values or exposures, and inherently, you can have someone go long and short that simply by making a purchase. So whoever buys it is long, whoever sells it is short. Think of it as a perpetual swap, which again, something else that we invented back in 2013 or early 2014. Those exposures are strong. Okay, so you go and buy, Theo goes and buys a cup of Starbucks coffee for $5, $5 US. He's actually swapped $5 for the Starbucks coffee. Okay, normally that transaction takes 25 seconds, 15 seconds. So you have an expiry on that for 15 seconds. It can expire. You have no expiry on it, so now it's a permanent vehicle. Okay, and then someone can now buy and sell that coffee. Okay, leg of the transaction, and someone else can buy or sell that US dollar leg of the transaction. So now you have a very, very flexible tokenization. Okay, and very elegant. You could do much, much more with. Two sides of every coin, basically, instead of just a tokenized coin. So that's one of many, many, many different embodiments and expressions of the invention. We're still working it out. We're going to start getting busy with it. Maybe by the end of March, you'll see us, spreading around the globe. Okay, ex-US, of course. Everything's outside of the US. Since you're not to interact with Very, do you foresee a very rental utility structure? That's a complex topic. Because of its complexity, I can't discuss that right now. I'm sorry, but the stuff we're doing is going to a pretty high level, and not all of it is conducive or suitable to a live AMA on YouTube. So my apologies. Okay, I've discussed the very token several times in detail. What I would like anybody to do, whoever has questions about the very token, again, everybody, go to the official, the Veritasium official Telegram group It's not official as in owned by Veritasium. It's just one that we uh, endorse as having serious admins and a serious crowd. Again, that's telegram.com, Veritasium official. There is no discussion of price, of token price. That's one of the rules. And there's no discussion of token speculation. Outside of that, the sky's the limit as long as you're professional and polite. Okay? Primarily focus on utility, value, perspective, reach, functionality, etc. Does Very complement XRP or is it a competitor? Well, varies. The Very was back when we were using it, prepaid fees for our products and services. So I I guess XRP was similar, but we're definitely not competitors. I don't think XRP or Ripple can compete. They deal in remittances, but on the wholesale side from bank to bank. We have a much broader mandate. Do you see WEF playing part in blockchain adoption? I think everything's going to be part of blockchain adoption. Let me give you a couple of examples. We go back, this is 20, let's go back 30 years, 1991. And instead of blockchain protocols, BP, or Bitcoin protocols, or Ethereum, etc., you have IP, the Internet Protocol. Okay? With the Internet Protocol, a lot of people are asking, well, it seems sort of nerdy. Do you think this would be adopted by XYZ institution, the corporate Fortune 500, Russell 2000 companies in general? Of course. As a matter of fact, not only was it adopted, it became part of the fabric of business, um, normal transactions, and personal life. The same thing is going. The same thing is going to happen with the blockchain. If I was able to pull off patenting uh, information packet transfer um, back in 1993, 94, 95. I think we're about 1995 in terms of where the internet was, between 95 and 97. If I was able to pull that off, that would have been significant. Okay? But that would have been patenting uh, the transfer of information. Okay? What I believe is we have patented the transfer of value, which is significant. And not just patented, because I'm discussing a patent because that's recent news that many weren't aware of. But, the patent came from the origination of the idea and concept, right? Which started with the blockchain, but I envisioned it as a totally different perspective. A lot of people take this invention that was the prize Toshi Nakamoto, and they are trying to shoehorn it in, current financial models and, uh, companies and products. It's the wrong way to go about it. Okay, you have um, you have a twin turbo V12. Better yet, you have this electric motor that has 5 times the torque, it's 6 times the horsepower output, but 1/3 the energy consumption of the best gasoline engine in the car. Okay, you don't strap that into a horse and buggy or a carriage, okay, and try and make it go faster. You have all this power, okay. You have to reimagine the entire model. Okay, and that's what we're doing. So instead of trying to make securities settle faster, we simply change, re-engineer the concept of what a security is. Okay, and by doing that, the security self-settle. So trying to make it settle faster is an absolute waste. Again, you're taking that, high-powered electric engine and you're trying to strap it into a horse and buggy. Well, we should take this and we should use it for, drone flight, automated drone flight. Having nothing to do with horses, having nothing to do with roads. That mentality um, will probably only come from someone who's not already too deeply ensconced in the current status quo. And that's that in a nutshell. Let me take 2 or 3 more questions, and then I will retire. Reggie, how do you see alternative assets like collector cars, art, wine, factoring, etc., in the tokenization proceedings? Well, the way we would do it is we would do it again using that same concept that I explained, creating a transfer of value, a buyer and a seller, and then that transfer of value will have an existence of its own. that can be traded. Each swap, each leg of that transaction can be traded, and it will have its own unique characteristics. So I can take a 1961 Ferrari. Okay, there's one way to do it. You could tokenize it. So you just take it and let it be represented by a USD20 token, or you can actually encapsulate the value and the transaction of what was traded for it in terms of its value, and then each can move separately. So you can now go short that Ferrari or long that Ferrari. Going short and long are investment terms. Okay, so think of it as one could be receiving the value of that Ferrari versus paying the value. Whenever that um, whenever that transaction occurs, you would have an exchange of buying and selling. Okay, so this is not so much an investment. Just think in terms of value flows. And if I ask you to think in terms of value flows, because again, you have to re-engineer the way things are done. Okay, significantly. Okay, how do you plan to gain more retail buyer interest when Very has been delisted with so many? Are you now uninterested in retail engagement? I want to repeat this one more time. Okay, and we created Very as prepaid fees for products and services. We fully backed it. This is not about what I want. What I wanted most definitely did not happen. You had a regulator. The regulator decided that Very was X. They forcibly separated Very from us, and they made a decision. So anybody who's not happy about what happened with Very, it's not my decision. Trust me, what I went through, nobody would want to go through. So it definitely wasn't voluntary. That is what happened with the regulator in the U.S. Feel free to talk to the regulator. It's out of my hands. Now, the actual invention was designed not for just central banks doing business with each other or big money center banks. It was designed to allow everybody to do business with anybody else and to do it on a zero trust basis. So you don't have to trust or know the other side to be able to transact value, because as long as the blockchain is intact, you can't default on the transaction itself, and you can't renege. That's what we call it, zero trust or low trust transactions. These transactions could be for pennies or billions of dollars, and it really doesn't matter. Um, if done on, say, the Ethereum blockchain or the Bitcoin blockchain, it's expensive to do for pennies. But remember, Ethereum is going through a massive overhaul now. Um, the guys are not dumb at all. They're quite bright. I anticipate them solving, at least for the medium term, the gas problem. And if for whatever reason they cannot, which I believe they would, there are dozens of other blockchains that solve the pricing problem. What I don't think they've solved as of yet that I've seen is they haven't been stress tested under extreme volume and pressure like Ethereum has. So there are pluses and minuses. Every new thing that comes out looks better because they have the benefit of hindsight and they can fix that problem. Problem is there's new problems for them to have. So real blockchain agnostic, not nastic. Care less what blockchain is used. I don't make blockchains. I don't build them. I don't market them. They're simply tools that we use to operate our inventions. Can we use these tokens of the new platform? I don't know what these tokens are, but again, I go to the Telegram. I don't want to repeat myself multiple times. Go to the Telegram official, Telegram's Veritasium official user group, and feel free to ask questions. The community, again, is rich, vibrant, and well learned. Okay? I did say two more. Let me take one more, and then I'm going to call it a day. So is the value transfer similar to bartering? From William Billingsley, yes, it is similar to bartering, but using modern technology, which takes the friction out of the transaction, a lot of the friction, if not almost all of it, and takes the counterparty risk out of the transaction. So you could barter, but it's like having the things that you're bartering right in front of you and trading in real time, regardless of the distance, regardless of how much you trust the other side, regardless of the payment ability of the other side. Okay. So I see there's a lot of questions on varied tokens, and I can understand that. But I don't want to answer the question over and over. You could go and ask those questions. Um, it's a good chance that the admins and the moderators at the Veritasium official group are going to ask you to refer to past posts because it's not fair for them to answer the same question 48 times per day. Very time consuming, and it's difficult to address the new topics. Okay, so they'll show you how to search answers to the topics. Just do a search and you should be able to come up with the answer. Okay. Can you sell software licenses and re-rent them out for access to a peer-to-peer market? That's a complex question. On the surface, U.S. regulators have made things very risky. But for the rest of that answer, I'm not at liberty to discuss that right now. Okay. So on that note, I see we have a good turnout. Before everybody leaves, please share this link to everybody else. Okay. Click subscribe and click notify. I'm going to do these videos a little more often. And please click the like button. Thumbs up. Okay. Goodbye all. And welcome to the world of the next generation in terms of, I don't want to say finance because there's so much more than finance. Value transfer. Okay. Au revoir.